Hi, you've stumbled into another episode of Let's Chat Sales. And in this episode, we're talking about how you wrap up a sales call. And this is such a critically important component of the sales process and the call itself is getting the end of the call right. And so that's what we talk about today. I think it's kind of fun. So if you like, then you know what to do. Do the doobly-doo then here somewhere. And let's get started. Hey, Bob. So it's another edition of Let's Chat Sales.
Let's chat sales.
You're nuts, man. I got to get me a new sidekick. So today we're going to talk about how to wrap up a conversation, a sales call, any kind of a dialogue, how to make sure that you get to an effective ending. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. And this could apply to a call. This could apply to a meeting. This could apply to a luncheon.
Yeah, luncheon.
This could apply to a net where you meet someone at a networking event and you're having a good discussion and you're just trying to figure out.
So the problem we're wrestling with is that you get to the end of a conversation or whatever, and you assume that you know what the ending is. And
or what the next step is.
Or the next step is. And that's a dangerous assumption to make and probably wrong or could be wrong. There are ways to get around that. So I guess before we go to the solution, let's talk about the problem a little bit. Why does that happen?
Can we make it really clear? Because I think the example is the thing. So I did a sales call about 2 weeks ago. It was a 45-minute call. We had a great discussion. At the end of it, I was convinced these people were going to sign a contract that afternoon. I said to them, hey, so what do you see the next step being? And they said, oh, we have to kick this around in our committee, and then we're going to have to run it to the VP. Guess that contract isn't going to be signed today.
Yeah. So not done. So that's the assumption is you think it's this, and the customer thinks it's this, or the customer doesn't know. That's the other thing. They don't know what the next step is. So the assumption is the dangerous part of this equation. You know what the next step is, or you get to the end and don't establish what that next step is.
Right. That's the most detrimental thing.
Yeah. So just real quickly, let's chat about that, because I make a point as I'm having a sales call, any kind of discussion, I'm oftentimes taking notes. So I'll have my notes. In particular, I do this thing where if there's an action, I'll write it down and I have a little star and a circle around it, just so I can see it in my notebook. I can spot it immediately. Oh, that's an action. That's something that has to take place. And so as we're going through the conversation, I'll be taking down notes. And if there's some action, some responsibility, some next step that's surfaced.
Your actions and their actions, or just
your
actions?
All of them, just all of them.
Okay, so anything, if someone says, oh, I need to check on whether we have that software.
Yep.
That would be an action item that you write on the list.
It's a note and it has a circle with a star around it.
And if it was something for you to check on,
either way,
can we do net 60 or whatever?
Yeah, right.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear because I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, I'm keeping track of everything that's going on in the call. Basically, I just want to know what are all the things that are the moving parts, the things that have to happen going forward. And that could be questions that we don't know the answers to, or maybe other people that we need to talk to. If someone mentions a name and says, oh, we need to get Bob Jones involved in this, I'm writing down Bob Jones ? And these are all to-do items. Now, you've heard me talk about this a lot in the past. And that is, if you've got a meeting, you've got a call that's scheduled for 30 minutes, you want to be wrapping it up in 20. So you have cushion, you have time to cover the stuff that we're now making a list of. Because then what I typically do that's really useful is I'll say at the end, and this literally happened right before you and I got on a call. I just got off the phone with a customer and I had this very thing happen where I reiterated what needed to happen next. And so what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I've been taking some notes, or I wrote down some stuff. Here are the things that I heard. I may just summarize the meeting in general, the conversation. Here's what I heard, blah, 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 A, B, C, whatever. Here are the action items I wrote down. We got to do this, A, we got to do this, we got to do this. And if I know, I may very well say, hey, this is something you're doing. I have to get you a proposal. I have to get you some paperwork on this. There's an open question here regarding this kind of feature or whatever it is. And I'll follow up with you on that. And then you're going to schedule a next meeting. Should we do that now? And these are all things that I try and do because in the last few minutes of the call, I want to make sure I know what the next steps are. And in a lot of cases, it's a clarifying question. You may very well need to say, as I'm sure you're thinking, did I miss anything? Or is that right? Are we on track? Is there something else we need to do?
Are you capturing due dates for those things when you're saying, if you say to the customer, hey, Steve, I see here that you need to check with your committee and make sure your committee's on board with this proposal. Do you ask them then, when do you anticipate having that completed?
Yeah. Can you have that done before our next call?
So you're setting task and deadline for everyone, including yourself.
Yeah. If I have a follow-up, I got to get you an answer on the question. I'll get you that on the next day. I'll get you an answer for that. The important thing, this is kind of an ancillary, but the important thing is when you make commitments like that, you want to make sure you hit them. So don't commit to have something later today if you know you can't get it but later today. If someone's out and you need to talk to someone and they're critical to getting an answer, then don't commit to that. There's no harm in saying, I'll get back to you. I don't exactly know when. I'll get you, but I should be able to follow up with you. And at a minimum, I'll tell you when I can get it later.
Right. I was going to say, I'll say I can update you in the next 24 hours on where I am with it.
Yeah, whatever that is. You want to put yourself on the hook to get something done, but you want to get it within a time frame because it's so much of it is about expectation. If you can get something done ahead of time, these are the little things that the customer measures, the customer sees, they see progress. Plus, the other thing about this is you're staying front of mind. And when you're staying front of mind, you're less likely to be put off to the side so they can focus on some other thing. You can make your initiative a priority. But part of doing that is establishing that ongoing momentum. These are the things that need to happen next. And the best time to do that is while you have the customer at the end of the call, where you can together professionally go through, hey, here's what I see happening next. Is that right? What do we need to do from your side? What from this meeting do we need to do next?
I think for the customer too, often when they're in these sales meetings, there's a certain amount of vomiting of information.
Yeah.
And complaining and wishing and dreaming. And if you as the salesperson can harness that into concrete action steps, I think that's one of the things that they're looking for. Taking the chaos and bringing clarity at the end of the meeting is a real sign to me. When the salesperson does that, I immediately trust them.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they were able to take all these disparate things and bring it back to this thing and say, okay, here's the next step. That's why you're talking to a salesperson. Now, do you follow up after you have that action list of next steps? Do you follow up with an email highlighting all of those?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how far after the meeting do you typically try to send that email?
I try and do it the same day. It depends on the day. Okay. You can have a call at the end of the evening. You may not get to it the next day, but you really want to have some sort of summary in place because it reestablishes that you're following up on things and you're on control. The thing that I find really powerful about at the end of a conversation where you say, here's what I heard, here are the things that we need to, what you're saying is, what you're conveying very specifically is, I've been listening, I've been paying attention.
And I care.
And you care and you're thorough. One of the things about salespeople is they oftentimes get a bad reputation because they deserve it. And that is they wing everything. They sort of just think the sale is going to happen. They don't view it as a craft. They don't view the sales process as a methodology and as a craft. And so in that regard, if you do those sorts of things, if you're able to make sure at the tail end of a conversation, you're summarizing, you're validating, you're curious, what did we miss? Was there anything you didn't hear that you wanted to hear? What you're basically saying when you ask that is you're opening yourself up for criticism. Hey, what did I miss? What should we have done? What didn't you hear that you needed to hear about? You're basically telegraphing to them, hey, I'm listening. I'm open for criticism. If there's something I need to do better, people interpret that as being a human being, as being vulnerable, being open to improvement. That's a good position to be in when you're in sales. That invokes trust and a shared willingness to work together.
This person's in my corner.
Yeah.
I think a lot of buying decisions, even big multi-million-dollar projects, come down to that.
Absolutely.
I believe in this sales guy. He's going to deliver this for us. And I don't think founders always think about it that way. They think about it's all about the product or the service. Those are important.
Yep.
But your passion and your ability to manage this process can really take you a long way because it shows that you're outside of your own head. You want this to advance. You want the customer to be successful. So you've actually told them, here are the things you can do to help us. Here are the things I can do to help us. And we go from you and me, which is how the sales call begins, to ultimately us, right?
that's what you're working towards, is that kind of shared, the collaboration, a genuine kind of partnership, because it should be a mutual win. You get a customer that's happy and referenceable and generating referrals, they get a better solution, they save money, they make money, their life got easier. That's the transaction that you want to take place. It's not the revenue, it's the rest of it is where
Yes.
you really need to focus. And by being kind of methodical at the end of a conversation where you stop and validate and confirm, these are the things I think that you have to allow time at the end of a conversation for that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to cover today.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great discussion. I really enjoyed it. I got some good nuggets out of it.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Bob. Always good
Thank
chatting
you.
with you. All right.
Always a privilege.
Gotta stop recording. All right. So that was another episode of Let's Chat Sales. Thanks for listening or watching. Actually, I guess you watched. And if you would like to check out another one, they're short. Go right. I think this one right here.